Hello, everyone, and I just wanted to make some videos for you guys to help you prepare for your wind ensemble auditions. So we're going to start with the euphonium section here, and we're going to target the very first piece of music that y'all have been assigned, and that's the arrangement of Pineapple Pole. A lot of challenges in this piece of music. So essentially what I want to do is three things. Number one, I want to get you guys familiar with the music, get an overview, the styles and everything. Number two, give you a plan for how to practice things that look a little scary or a little challenging at first. And then number three, send you on your way. And that's where you actually do the work yourself. So you got to know what you're doing, you got to have a plan, and then you have to actually practice. All right, so let's see if we can share the screen. Okay, it looks like it works here. Okay, so this is Pineapple Pole. Go ahead and do full screen here. All right, so this piece is great for a lot of different reasons. And in my opinion, in terms of an overview and style, it seems like this represents March style to me the most. It's you can argue that well, it's more of a light allegro style, but there's a lot of things that you'll do in marches that you do in here. So the first thing is, as a euphonium player, you have to be able to navigate three primary styles or roles. The 2D voice, the melody voice, where you're playing along with other people. Sometimes you have a solo, but usually it's we're some sort of melodic material. The best example is right at the beginning. You're in unison with the woodwinds, although we get to cheat and take some breaths here. And I believe that A natural right there, it might be a G, but go ahead and play the A natural for your audition, any audition that you do. So the next thing is playing the bass line. So then you'll see you'll have some parts that are not as important. And there's different rules that'll go along for each role. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then number three, the counter melody. So this is a good example down here of where you have the counter melody. So let's just go through each section. I'm going to come back to the 16th notes because I have a whole set of etudes and exercises that I want to get to it. But let's just talk about the beginning. You are, if you're playing this with an ensemble, you're going to be doubling the woodwinds here, and it's kind of unfortunate that you do all this work with your finger practice and everything, and then you're just added color, and nobody really hears the euphonium. So it's kind of like all that work just to be buried by the woodwinds, but part of the music. And if you're doing an audition, there's a good chance that you'll have to play this selection here. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more, maybe about halfway through the page here. When you're not in the melody, you don't have to play so loud. And do follow the dynamics exactly. And actually, let's go right to the part where it looks the most like a tuba part. For instance, here, when you have things that are the same over and over and over, like bum 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 bum. It's important that you put a little bit of a marker on all the downbeats. So don't play these notes all the same. Okay, you got to make the first one of each grouping have a little bit more of an emphasis. So basically, think in groups of four. And then that last one, that last quarter note C needs to lead, have the 5-1 energy, 5-1, because C is 5 in the key of F major. So you really want to lead that C to the next downbeat. Okay. The good news about the bass line is it's very easy to explain. All of the downbeats get a little bit more accents than beat 2. So every time you have a beat 1, you're going to give a little bit more pulsation on it. So I'll start here. Okay. And so then that takes me to the next rule of a march or any allegro piece, and that is the little notes go to the big notes. The little notes go to the big notes. So this is a great example right here where you have a quarter note, eighth, eighth, quarter note. So it's heavy, light, light, heavy, light, light, a little bit heavy, light, light, a little bit heavier, light, light. Yum bum 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 yum ba ba bum ba ba bum bum bum. The biggest accents go on the quarter notes, and you get a little bit of emphasis on the eighth notes. But I'll play that again, starting right here, so you can hear what I'm talking about. Okay, so that covers the bass line, and anytime you have that bass line, like over down here, right here, and here also, yum bum 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 bum. Of course, this is kind of all loud, but you can put like yum bum 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 bum, so that you're kind of marking each downbeat, so that it gives a little bit more of an emphasis where the big beat goes, kind of organizes the music into little groups, so that you're not just playing monotone. Okay, that's huge, huge, huge penalty there for an audition, in terms of like taking points off. Oops. So I think that's pretty much it for baseline material, and it's all the same. Another example here. Um, we'll just talk baseline for a minute. And then you go to the next thing. Okay, so let's go back a minute here, and let's talk about the first time we have a counter melody. Okay, so this is our first counter melody. It's only about 4 measures long, and I just want to play through that for you guys for a second. You want to play loud, and just make the dynamics make sense here. If you play exactly what's on the page, it just sounds a little awkward. Bumpy on bottom, bum bum bottom, bumpy on bottom. So you can add like a little bit of a decrescendo getting into the pianissimo. I practice this a lot in front of band directors, and they've always given me weird looks when I've done the exact dynamics here. Bumpy on bottom, bum bum bottom, bumpy on bottom. It's kind of awkward. It's okay if you decrescendo hair after the accented notes, on measures 50. Oh gosh, that's kind of small. 51 and 53. Anyway, just wanted to clarify that. And then the next thing is more counter melody action. So with this counter melody here, you just follow the dynamics. Yeah, well, of course, but think about this also as the notes leading to the downbeats. So you're going to have this figure a lot where you have three eighth notes slurred into a downbeat. Ta da da da, ta da 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 da, ta da 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 da, ta da 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 da. So every time you have a slur figure that ascends, you have to crescendo. Look, it happens here too, but it's not marked. But you need to go ahead and crescendo. Right. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind, and really bring the heat. It's okay to play out and play full. Okay. The next part here, oops, is another bit of counter melody. Bum bum da 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 dee da da. This one, I just want you guys to note that sometimes we make this grace note a little bit more like a sixth, like it's part of the rhythm. It needs to be around the rhythm. So if I were you and we were practicing any type of figure with a grace note, do it without the grace note first, as you have probably been told in the past, and then put the grace note in later. Because there's other things that you need to practice as well. So in terms of practice strategy, in this section right here, I would do no grace notes and no swells. Okay. Then once you get comfortable with it, then add the dynamics. Okay, and then add the grace notes. So don't just try to do everything at once unless you're okay with that. But if you feel like you're not quite getting it or you're not coordinated, focus on what needs to what needs the attention. And I wouldn't worry about going super crazy with these swells. Just give a little bit of a color change, because you don't want to sound like you don't want to get that effect going. What if I did this? Oh, maybe that's a little bit easier to see. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. All righty. All right. So the next part here, play as loud as you can with a good sound, and just know that this is with the French horns, and this used to be down an octave. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, and there's a jump, they did pedal A flats to the regular D flat. But lucky for you guys, you don't have to worry about that. Bum 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 bum. That's another counter melody. Okay, just think about being with the French horn section there. All right. The next thing is articulation. So there's two things that you'll need to do every day in this summer, in my opinion. You'll need to do tonguing exercises at 132. Going up the C major scale and down at a quarter note equals 132, so that you can do the yum bum 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 ba da 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 um wherever it is. Yeah, right here. So you can do that, and there's all kinds of tonguing stuff that you'll need. So you got to get your tongue going. Then I also suggest doing some Clark studies. Things like that. Another really good Clark study is the one with the arpeggios. And those patterns, I can share those with you guys. I think they're on Canvas already, but you can send me an email if you're interested in any extra material, plus my dissertation, which I'll show you here. And I'll tell you, hey, you should take a screenshot now and go ahead and do that. Here, you're not the melody. Bum, 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 bum. Just light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And in order to avoid slowing down, I would think in fours. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just leave out 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we have this nice melody here. And it's going to be the same as before, where you follow that rule of three notes leading into the downbeat, three notes leading into the downbeat. It's all about the pickup notes leading into the downbeats. Da 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 dee dee dee. And you're not a melody. Notice how you're a melody, but then you're not a melody anymore. Then you become the melody again. Ba dee da 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 ba ya da da dee. Ba da da da. This actually is more exposed than anything else. So make sure you can play this. Show off your lyrical playing. Always go to downbeats though. Yeah, those triplets are kind of tricky down there. And then here I would think bum, 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 bum. So you're again marking those downbeats, same style as a march. So then we get into some more technical stuff. Your light accompaniment here, bum, beep, bum, 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 yeah, ba, da, ba, dum, bum, yeah, da, da, dum, bum, bum. You have little interjections of parts that are important. This is a tutti section here with the tubas or the low brass. So again, here I would practice no grace notes and then add the grace notes in, so you don't have the little fumbles that I had. Now this is just scale patterns, and I think the faster you identify the scales, the easier it's going to be for you guys. So I would do the rhythm first. Do that for a little while, okay? But mainly that bum ba ba bum ba ba bum. You basically have two note pickups. Ta, ta ta ta, ta ta ta. So this is a two note pickup that leads to beat 2. This is a two note pickup that leads to beat 1. And if you phrase it that way, it'll lie a little easier on the fingerings and it'll make more sense musically. Something that's also important to is to do is to subdivide. So that's got to be right in time. It's got to be kind of snappy, and then you get loud. And then we've done this before here. Remember practicing grace notes separately so that you don't mess with the rhythm there. So I would record yourself on a regular basis to make sure those rhythms are straight. Okay, so now we're going to do something a little different here. I like to try to share the screen again. Oh, it does this. Okay, hold on one second. I think this might be it. Okay. That's actually not what I want. Go away. Cancel that. Let me go ahead and stop the share. Sorry. Give me just a second. Okay, looks like we figured it out here. All right. So I went ahead and put a piece of my dissertation here. So now I suggest I'll tell you when to take some screenshots for your benefit here. There are some things here that can really help you out. I did a little bit of research on this piece here, this excerpt in particular. Neil Corwell of the Pershing Zone Army Band writes, the only reason this excerpt is requested as an audition is to test your fourth valve technique and control your tone quality in the low range. Now, of course, he's obviously talking about the beginning. So then he talks about a set of alternate fingerings. Now, the problem with the alternate fingerings is that it kind of doesn't give you the best sound. So we're going to talk about the beginning part here, Pineapple Pulp. Whatever. So you might get fumbled like I just did there, or you might just look at this and say, well, I just don't have the coordination right now, and maybe the audition's coming up soon. So it's always good to have a plan B. So here's your plan B for this section. So what I want you guys to do is first play through it slowly, kind of get a feel for it. Okay, so then what I want you to do is, I don't know if you can see me, my little screen here at the top. I'm going to just push my fourth valve down, and I'm going to actually do this for you guys. Check it out. I'm just going to lock it. Okay, so now I can't even lift it. Okay, but watch what happens. Okay, that was with the third valve. Okay, as we know, third valve also means 1 and 2. So you have a choice. You can lock down your fourth valve and just slam it down. Don't touch it. Leave it pressed down and just. You can do the whole thing with just your ring finger. Or right, and that takes you from 1, 2, 3. It gives you 3 measures, and then when you get to this fourth measure here, where you have the scale pattern, that's where you can actually use the real fingerings again. And go back to normal fingerings. Once you get to this measure here, then you can lock that fourth valve down again. And so you can kind of mix and match as you go through it. But I think the main thing that this can apply to is the first 3 measures. I mean, technically, you can do the whole thing with it, like with fourth valve and then 1 and 2. So all I'm doing is holding down my fourth valve and I'm going 1 and 2 up and down, and that's creating an alternate fingerings. Now it sounds like kind of muddy, and it's like you can fake it at a fast tempo. But of course, nothing beats the real thing. Just doing the right fingerings takes way more work and coordination. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me just see if I can fake it first. This is where I'm only going to slam down the fourth valve. I'll only do the real fingerings for this scale up to that G. But then once I get back over here, I'm going to do fake fingerings. And then I'll do the real fingerings for this measure right here. So this is where my cursor is. That's where I'll do the real fingerings. My valve came unscrewed halfway through. Versus the real fingerings just sound way better. That's my recommendation, is just to do the roll up your sleeves and get to work. Okay, we're going to skip this part here because you don't have to worry about that octave change. All right, so if you're like, well, I don't like the sound of the alternate fingerings, remember that's fourth valve and then 1 and 2 and then open 1 and 2 open. So basically, yeah, da 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 da. See, I have my fourth valve right here. And so you can kind of mix and match as you see fit. But that gets you, it kind of helps you fake it. Now, if you really want to do a good job on this, make these exercises here part of your warm up. So now is a good time to take a screenshot. Okay, go ahead and screenshot this area right here. Okay, because I want you to do these guys every day. Make sure your fourth valve is oiled too, because mine's sticking. That can be kind of annoying. I would do each one 4 times in a row, and or at least play them slower and just rep them until they're comfortable. I'm going to go to number 4 now. And the thing is, your fingers will tell you when you need to slow it down and to really kind of work it through it. If it's an easy pattern, then just do it fast, but just go with reps and give a little bit of rest in between each rep so that you can let it absorb in your brain. It's kind of like chewing your food, swallow the bite, take another bite, chew it up, then swallow it. Allow yourself time to process it. Don't just rush through this because you won't really benefit from these exercises unless you really take your time with it. And you ask yourself, can I make that more even? How even can I? That's probably the hardest one, number 6 over here. And we're gonna do all this work, and then the woodwinds are gonna cover us up, but that's okay. The next thing I want you guys to do is take a little screenshot of this, which is an actual etude. So take a screenshot here and use this. Here, I'll move the cursor so you can see it. But I would just do a repetition on the first measure, and just do one measure at a time. I would do it 2 or 4 times. Okay, and I'll demonstrate. And that was the first measure. I did that 4 times. Okay, now I'm going to go to measure 2, and I'm going to do it 4 times. I like this one the most. This one helps me get a running start kind of into the section. And every time I play this, something rattles. If you're doing an audition and your horn's rattling and it's making a lot of noise, it's okay. I have the same problem. And so I would do the same thing with these other exercises. Again, I would do this 4 times. It's a lot of work, and if you can't do it fast, then you can do it in parts, break it up. But this material right here, I think, is what you guys need to be doing your repetitions with, and then jump to the excerpt itself. Okay. The next thing is called sequencing. Some people call this chaining. I call it sequencing. And so as you can see here, I just do one note, and really should be practicing with the metronome. Shame on me. But I'm just demonstrating. When you guys practice, go ahead and practice with the metronome. I'm going to put mine at 132 or 131. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. And you go all the way through it until you can play through that first lick there. But that's how you can get away with practicing without going slower. Because it's okay to practice fast as long as you do it with a good strategy. If you have a bad strategy, you're going to sound like uneven, and your technique's not going to be coordinated. Your fingers aren't going to have the same coordination. So it's important that you practice evenly, all right, and practice intelligently. So here's another spot. Go ahead and take another screenshot here right now. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this, screenshot it. I think this is really important here because it helps you expand more of these ideas, and there's just only one note there. You don't have to worry about that one. Same thing, go ahead and take another screenshot here of this section. Take a screenshot and practice with the metronome at full tempo. And you can also just do 2 or 3 measures at a time. You don't have to do the whole thing in one go. But this is just a strategy to show you how to practice. Now, here's one of my favorite spots. Definitely with a screenshot. You're gonna hopefully have like a whole like packet of things to work on. And if you want my dissertation, I would be more than happy to share it with you. Right now, I'm just giving you highlights here. Um, so here, of course, we have the target area, right? So that's the first part that we want to work on here. So as you can see, we have variations based on this part of the excerpt. And so we're going to start with the classic boop ba doop ba doop ba doop ba doop. And maybe I might go a little slower. And then we'll go to variation 2. Okay, variation 3. Right, and if you need to slow that down, that's okay. But just do them in chunks. Okay, the next variation here. Ah. There it is. So I haven't played this in a while. So if I was kind of screwing up that a little bit, I would just do one beat at a time, as you saw there. Okay, then it kind of puts it together, but it takes that same idea and applies it to more. Okay, so take another screenshot now. Maybe you can work on the second half of this screenshot there. Very good. And then if you're really, really ambitious, you can change the articulation. And you can mix the tongue and the slurs. You can screenshot that if you want. Here, I'll give you a second to screenshot it if you want. This one is something, if you've just been playing it hundreds of times and you're looking for a new way to do it, keep yourself sane. All right. Don't worry about these exercises because your edition doesn't have the low octave. All right. So that is pretty much everything I had for how to practice. So just to give you a recap with Pineapple Pole, it's important to get it in your brain first. And I failed to say the very first thing I should have said is listen to the recording. So to give you an idea of how to get a good feel for this, you got to do three things. Excuse me. Number one, listen to the recording and get an overview so you know how your part fits with the band. You know when you have the melody, also known as 2D section. So if you're having trouble hearing the euphonium, like during the woodwind part, that's because you're being covered. The euphonium is being covered up. That's okay. But just so you know, okay, we have the melody here. You have the bass lines. When you have bass lines, you always put an emphasis on the downbeats and make everything else a little lighter. And then when you have the counter melody, then the off beats lead to the on beats, or you might have the 3 note pickup that leads to the downbeat. You always have that same exact figure every time. And so that is getting to know the piece. All right. So the next thing, number two, is how to practice. So I would do again, figure out where the hard parts are and isolate them, and just do little pieces at a time. There's these fundamental things that you can rep here. There's 6 little rhythm, or sorry, technical patterns that you can do. Then you can expand them and do this one here. This takes those 6 little patterns and it plugs them in. And then you can do your chaining or your sequencing. And then you got your variants, like the dotted eighth, 16ths, the triplets. And the beautiful thing about everything we've laid out for you with this particular excerpt is that you can apply these strategies to other technical spots of your piece of music. Let me stop the share. And I spent all this time talking about the first movement, but I did want to talk briefly, very, very, very briefly, because I know this video is getting kind of long. But those of you who are watching are probably, wanting to say, "Hey, how do I get better at this?" And I really applaud that. So I'll give you what you asked for. If you want to get better at this, you need to have a good understanding of it. Okay, then you have to have a good plan, and then you have to practice. So that's the third part. All right, so this movement here is slow. You want to make sure that you're being expressive, playing in tune. Good chance I won't ask for this for the audition. I'm going to ask for the technical stuff, So when you're in this movement here, it's all about the Humpty Dumpty. So I don't know. Bum, 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 bum. Remember, the bass line emphasis goes on the downbeats. And maybe a little faster than that. Yum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum, bum, bum. Yum, ba 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 bum, ba da 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 da. You just got to do some finger practice. I would just do finger only, and then play it again. You can apply the ideas of the sequencing where you just do one note at a time. That can help you practice through this. Obviously, you want to just do fingers only and then play it, and that's pretty much it. The fourth movement is not so bad. Just listen to it. I would listen to the whole thing, of course. Put it on your Spotify playlist. So that's all I have for Pineapple Pole. I think we'll do one more video for the other pieces, and I'll probably just do them on the same video because there's not too much. So I know